Hello ladies and gentlemen, Sly Jesse here, and today I'm with Johnny, the creator of the mod called Dead Matter, which is currently in closed alpha for the game Crysis 2. In the background, you can see me playing it, and just remember that this is in alpha. So, things are still being improved, added, and fixed. So Johnny, tell us what your mod is about.
Dead Matter is a open world zombie survival mod for Crysis 2. I had originally started working on it in November 2011, and recently I kind of posted a few pictures on the Reddit, and I think all but one album that I posted actually got onto the front page of the gaming subreddit. So I figured, maybe it has something going for it, and, I just started working a lot harder on it, and, it just kept getting better and better, and, now I'm kind of sitting right here.
Well, that's great. I do remember seeing those pictures on the Reddit, and wow, they looked amazing. So, is this mod going to be free, and is there a storyline to it?
Well, to my understanding, I think most mods have to be free due to, legal issues and all that. So, yes, you will be able to download Dead Matter 100% free. Crisis 2, different story. Gonna have to pay for that, but also in regards to a storyline, it's not really like there's a set story that you have to follow. Sure that, I'm gonna kind of fill in info of what happened, during, before, and after the apocalypse, and there's gonna be details such as, NPCs depending on what quadrant of the map they're in. If they're kind of isolated on Harper Island, which is the island that the current closed alpha test is on, they're gonna, have a different slang for what the zombies are called because, when faced with a reality such as this, would you actually call them a zombie or a walker? It's kind of, it's an interesting touch that I've added in. So I'd like to see how that plays out, and if it becomes confusing, then looks like there's gonna have to be some changes made.
Oh, well that's really interesting. So is the mod going to be multiplayer or single player?
The mod will be single player only. There's not really much that we can change about that as much as we'd like to because, I mean, how awesome would it be to have an experience that Dead Matter gives you in multiplayer? So, a lot of people kind of get upset at the fact that we don't want to, integrate multiplayer, but the reality is it's not really our choice. It's basically the AI in the Crysis 2 mod SDK don't actually work at all in multiplayer. We could never figure out how to get them to function in any way. And, there are mods like the Crysis 2 co-op mod, and, that mod is, I looked at the bits and, the kind of, I looked at what they did to actually get the AI in multiplayer, and it's quite an ugly process, and it wouldn't work out very efficiently for what we want to do. So we decided, you know, let's look at multiplayer and create multiplayer when we're well adapted to it. So we've been talking about a standalone, and a standalone would bring us, all of that. It would give us the ability to, uh, run our. It would give us the ability to run our own servers, and that sort of thing. It would give us a lot of control, and then especially for hackers, because we would be able to write our own anti-cheat client, and the CryEngine 3 actually has some pretty decent anti-cheat and anti-exploit stuff already built into it, according to one of my friends that's currently working with the free SDK. So, we have high hopes for getting out of standalone at some point. I can't give, that much info on it because it's only talk at this point. We don't even know if it's going to be using the CryEngine or, anything like that. So, it's being talked about, but as of now, there's no official plans for it.
Ah, well that's fair enough. Well, hopefully without having to focus on multiplayer or hackers, you can push some exciting features unseen in other games.
Yeah. there's a lot of things that we really want to put into Dead Matter. One of them uh, is the ability to kind of own your own house, own your own township. I was talking about this with you earlier, but basically, um, a township would be where you can go to a set location since they're a little bit tricky to set up dynamically, but well, let's say that we integrate, 5 to start off with and put more and more and more, periodically. So basically with these townships, it would turn into kind of not really a single man surviving, but a whole town of NPCs. And then other kind of townships and all that will pop up as soon as you start to open one. And, with other people kind of getting involved with the same thing, you got to expect resource competition, people stealing your supplies or, hurting your people or NPCs when they're out on supply run. So we hope to create almost 3 levels of gameplay. One where you're kind of a lonely scavenger with only a box of Chinese food, or and then you kind of move on to the point where you have your own house, and in this house you can basically do what you want. You can set up some food to grow in the garden. You can have some NPCs that you might have rescued come and help you out. And then for the townships, there's a variety of locations, such as an abandoned boat offshore is a planned location that you can actually move the boat around, which sounds pretty awesome. And abandoned mine shafts, and all sorts of unique and varied places to set up a stronghold. And if you don't want to have, sorry, a township, don't want to get too confused, but if you don't want to have anywhere fancy for a township, you can simply set it up at like a large variety of pretty small towns. Like I'm talking 3 or 4 buildings plus support structures. So yeah, I think that with the whole 3 levels of gameplay, we could really bring something different to the table, which would make me pretty happy.
So that sounds amazing, and I know that I've been in the game and driven a car around and loved it. So with all games though, there are features that players really want inside of it, but you can't add them due to restrictions or time. Do you have any of these you'd like to address before they're suggested over and over again?
Multiplayer is a pretty big feature that we can't integrate unless one, Crytek adds multiplayer AI support, which I believe they're actually discontinuing the Crysis 2 mod SDK, and they haven't updated it for a good, I believe, 16 or 12 months, one of those 2 numbers. So I kind of don't want to sound like a broken record, but there's not much we can do about multiplayer, but a standalone is being discussed simply to address the issue of multiplayer being absent in the mod. So that's one feature that we'd really like to include, but we currently cannot. Another feature that we'd really like to include but can't is the ability to clear out a city, or I think flying helicopters is another one that we really can't do. Clearing out a city, a lot of players want it so they can kind of build a township and all that in a city, but I feel like it's too unrealistic, and if you just go around clearing out all the cities, it would make the game very dry. We'll see how that goes, but for now I can't really go around and have every area clearable. So another feature that I think people will really want is the mil dots on sniper rifles to be properly zeroed. For every sniper rifle, what we could do is make a unique scope, but the problem with that is that that quote-unquote unique scope would only be good for that weapon. So each weapon kind of having its own funky zeroing for the scopes is almost a realism factor too. So there's a few limitations but we can definitely get around them. It's not that hard for us, but um, the SDK is flexible for level design and getting really uh, fluid gameplay and all that, and a good looking game as well. So we're gonna deliver that. We're gonna deliver what we can, but I mean, if there's a feature that we can't integrate, we'll definitely consider it for something like a standalone, which, like I said, is only being discussed at this point.
So we've already talked about the standalone, but can we see you working on anything else in the future?
Um, I just want to kind of, perfect Dead Matter to, the degree I can with all the limitations. I believe that, every obstacle can be overcome. I want to release new maps that take place in vastly different settings. So, for example, I want, a map on a tropical island. I think that'd be really, really cool. And, you know, Crysis 1 took place on a tropical island, and because the two games are the same IP or intellectual property owned by EA, you can actually take assets from Crysis 1 and plug them into Crysis 2, and it's 100% acceptable. And I'm actually quoting what a Crytek employee said on the Crydev forums. So this allows us to have the Scar as an example from Crysis 1. So we have a large opportunity to kind of recreate a map, like any map that we want. And I really, really want to go and create other maps, new environment, new things to do, because you're gonna get bored of like doing the same thing over and over, which is survive, barricade house, build a township, compete for resources until everyone dies or you escape the island. Because the end game, the overall end game is that you escape Harper Island, which is where the mod takes place. And there's multiple ways to do that. One is you get enough fuel gathered to take your boat, sorry, not boat, but you take your ship and you sail down south to, happy ending, I guess. I am thinking of just continuing it by like, making the ship off the shore of a tropical island, for an example. So, you know, with the four main ways to, do an end game, one is by air, and then sea, and then sea, and then by air. So there's pretty much a helicopter, and then an airplane, and then two boat endings. That's pretty much how I want to do it. As boring as it sounds, I want to make it so, working up to the end game can be satisfying, but, sometimes the game can throw you a curveball. I plan on putting a large fuel depot into the game. Shooting it isn't going to do anything. If you shoot a red barrel in a video game, it explodes. Not the most realistic, but, it's a great way to take out a large group of walkers and all that good stuff. So, basically, what we're doing is, creating ways to end the game, basically. You can go and now let's say, you don't shoot it and it explodes, but let's say that someone sabotages it from another settlement, and then their settlement has an airplane or something like that, because they decided to hole up in an airport. You can go in and, kill them, overtake their settlement, and then, fly away in their airplane that they've been repairing and restoring for months. Maybe, they went back to your boat or, something like that, and then they managed to, basically drift down the coast. It's very interesting, but, we want to make it so there's lots of tough, challenging obstacles, but actually achieving the end game will be very satisfying.
Well, that sounds so interesting. I can't wait to get into the game and do those things. So, is there anything else you have to say before we finish?
Um, I'd love to see all of you viewers on our forums. We're currently doing a closed alpha test, but it will be open. It will be opened up on the 25th, which is Christmas Day. It sounds like a crazy day to open this mod up, but I was never really considering actually going this far with it, and I'm really happy with the current rate that things are going, and I guess it's my Christmas gift to you this year because I love to give. So yeah, hopefully you guys will be interested in trying out our mod. It's free if you own Crysis 2, and Crysis 2 will hopefully be on sale by the time we release the open alpha if you do not already own the game.
Well, Johnny, it was fantastic talking to you, and if you're interested in Dead Matter, you can check out their website at deadmatterga.me, so you end up spelling game, or you can just check out the link below. If you like this video, remember to give it a thumbs up, and if you have any additional questions, make sure you leave them down below. I'll see you next time.
It's kind of nice having the little blue arrows.
Yeah, it's a very...
Stop hitting
Oh,
me.
crap!
Fucking hell.
I didn't mean to. I was trying to hit...
Who's hurt?
No!
Medics. Medics on the way.
I don't think I can revive you.
I don't know.